Hey guys, what's up? It's me again, Nehemiah. I'm deciding that you're my neurons, like brain neurons, and I do want to re-engage with you guys and start to grow the channel. I lost my recording space for a little while, but I've got it back again, so I'll be back at it. What I want to talk today about is the news, but not particular news, just news in general, and the idea that the entire world has instant access to information coming out. So how is that different than humans have lived in the past? You know, even in the last 100 years where we had news going out through telegrams and mail, you know, riding across the country on horse, whatever it is, it was much slower back then. And for the vast majority of human existence, pretty much gossip around the tribe, and that was about it. You know, 125 people per tribe on average, and that was the extent of one's world. So times have changed, and we have not evolved to meet those times. So let's talk about how it affects us and how we react to news when it comes out. The last year has been a turbulent and polarizing year in news, mostly in America, but also throughout the world. These two are correlated, I think. Something I've observed that I think we need to be wary of, and that's the hyperbolic exaggeration of stances on particular topics and issues. I think what's actually happening, I think there's less exaggeration in points than we immediately see on the internet, because the people that we see on the internet, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff, that's actually less Facebook, more Twitter. That is not everyone. Not everyone goes to Twitter. Not everybody has an account. Not everybody is constantly tweeting. The people that do are kind of fire starters. They'll be the ones that have an opinion. You see that Twitter post maybe is reported on the news, so that gets the ball rolling. But how many people are actually contributing to Twitter is less than you would realize. I'll put the numbers up on the screen to give you some perspective. Point is that when something happens and it's controversial, you know, was this person right? Were they not right? Was it right for their work to fire them or not fire them? Who's to blame? Blah, 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 blah. We have to remember a couple things. One, we often don't have all the information, and news articles, people's opinions tends to assume the worst of a person or a company. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not, but I think it's more dangerous for us to always assume positive intent. I think we should do our best to assume positive intent when we lack knowledge. I think that prevents us from making drastic decisions that have huge consequences that could be negative consequences, like going to war when we probably shouldn't, things like that. So on a personal level, how do you react to this news? I think it's difficult. It's not easy to do when emotions run high and we feel very passionate about certain stances and life choices and positions in politics, whatever. I think a good practice is to seek out opposing information. And the hard part about this, you have to find somebody that has an opposite view to you that is a sober, mature person who is not going to offer you a hyperbolic, exaggerated version of their point. Otherwise, you're going to cast it aside pretty quickly. Just like on your side, if you listen to people that you agree with, it's going to be exaggerated. And I think that's not a healthy thing. Confirmation bias is what that's called. It's a fallacy. We want to be wary of that and to have a adult, mature outlook on things. It's not easy to do. I've made the mistake of being hyperbolic on both sides, both before when I was a theist and when I'm an atheist now. You have to be really careful to not get caught up in the hype and the exaggeration, I think is the best word, of somebody's opinion. All that being said, I do think there is a most correct way to think about things. And what I mean by most correct is I mean that everything is its own context. You know, we could say killing someone is bad. In general, it is. You know, we call that murder when there's not like a good reason for it. But defending one's own life, then it's not murder. You know, it's killing, but to defend yourself. So the context of a physical act matters, and there's going to be subtle nuances. It's not going to be black and white. When we're looking to have an opinion about a general thing, that's not 100% opinion. You know, is it right for us to have terrorists? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends. And you have to take each issue in its own context. So I don't even like the idea of having parties at all. I think I'm most aligned with libertarians, but I think we should just have a bunch of smart people who are willing to take each decision kind of on its own, have a legal guideline, but really rely on making decisions that are consistent with what the spirit of the law is and not just following the letter of the law. In regards to overacting with news and social media, I think what's happened is the society has imposed their own verdict on things, and it doesn't equal the crime. It's somebody does something maybe ill-advised in their personal life, and then it gets out on social media and their company fires them. That's not a fitting punishment to the crime, but sometimes it is. So you have to be careful in your opinion, and we all want to talk about it. We like gossip and we want to get other people's opinions on things, and I think that's fine, but I think the point of it should be is to try to get to that percentage of what should my opinion be, and is it one that I would feel it was a fair judgment if it happened to me. If I was dumb enough to make that decision and this is the outcome from it, do I think I'm getting a fair shake at that? I think, even murderers that get sent to prison for their entire life, most of them can honestly, if they're honest with themselves, say, yes, I deserve this. But there's times where the punishment does not fit the crime. So I'm asking that you seek people that disagree with you, try to find somebody that's not as hyperbolic as your side. The vast majority of us exaggerate a little bit, and so try to find somebody that you could respect even if you disagree with them, and consider their position and see if you can bring your side that maybe you're starting with a little bit more in line with what reality should be. It's not a science at all, ethics and social justice. It's something that's ever evolving, and the way that we get to work together and make good decisions as a society, we have to be able to talk to each other, both sides, and come to a reasonable decision, one that we can all live with. So yeah, sound off in the comments. I want to hear what your Neurons opinions are. Do you think that Twitter and companies reacting to Twitter is a good thing, a bad thing? Do you think that there should be some kind of legal protection for somebody that did something that has nothing to do with their job from the company not just immediately firing them? I'm not saying that that's my opinion, but it's just something interesting to consider. What are your thoughts? And I'll catch you later in the next video. Adios.